We'll start with the prayers. Om Sahana Bhavato Sahanau Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are studying Panchadasi, chapter 1. And this chapter has a unique methodology of revealing who am I. The uniqueness is it takes into consideration both Mandukya Upanishad and Taittiriya Upanishad. In Taittiriya Upanishad, the definition of our real self is given as Sachidananda. That is a technical term which is used to describe my nature. All of us, we know that body and mind is what I am. But what Upanishad wants to convey is this body and mind is an incidental nature, which is available to us only in the Vyavaharika level. The Upanishad tells us that there is a higher level of understanding. And it gives you a certain methodology. The methodology which is followed here is, in the initial 10 verses, the author describes our higher nature as Sachidananda and tells us what each of these three words mean. So we have seen that. We have understood that Sat means something which is always there. Eternally it is there. Chit means it is of the nature of consciousness or knowledge. Ananda means it is of the nature of bliss or limitlessness. Purnatva. That is our real nature. But what do we feel today? We feel I am apurnaha. I am limited by this body. I am limited by my mind. And I exist for a short duration of time. Maybe 100 years, 90 years. But when you compare to timelessness, this is insignificant. So how do I travel from limitlessness, from limitedness to limitlessness, from time to timeless, from a place where I'm seen as myself to an unknown place which cannot be known? How do I travel? That is the job of a guru. That is the job of Upanishads. The Upanishads guide us to travel this path. It is a very, very subtle path. It requires a very sharp intellect. And a person who is sunk in this knowledge will travel the path. And he will go higher and higher in knowledge. So all of us are on the path to know our limitless nature, our timeless nature. That is the goal. And the goal is defined as Sat Chit Ananda. Okay, so this should be very, very clear. If this is clear, then the whole chapter becomes very easy. We have covered up to 47. Up to 47, we have finished. We are studying the 48th verse. What does the 48th verse say?
Maya vidye bihayaivam Maya vidye vihayaivam upadhi parajivayoh upadhi parajivayoh akhandam satchidanandam akhandam satchidanandam parabrahmaiva lakshyate parabrahmaiva lakshyate.
In this 48th verse, there is a conclusion of the Mahavakyam. The Mahavakyam says, you are not the body, you are not the mind, but you are consciousness. When we look at the world, according to the Upanishads, a jiva is with a limited shariram, with a limited body, and he has got one very big problem or obstacle. That is called as karana shariram. Also, another name given to it is avidya. Avidya means I don't know my real nature is without the body and mind. That's all. With the help of shastra, I claim that I am without the body and mind. I am Brahman or Chaitanya or consciousness or Atma. So all of us, if you are in the spiritual path, we have to deliberately understand how to drop the body and mind and claim that Atma as my real self. So in this verse, Vidyaranya says, you drop the ignorance part of yourself. How do you drop ignorance? You drop ignorance through knowledge. And where is the knowledge coming from about my real self? From the shastra, from the scriptures. So what Vidyaranya says is, you hold on to the knowledge that I am that pure consciousness. And you drop the jiva portion. The jiva portion is the three sharirams, the three bodies. And then he says that you will automatically fall in the lap of Sat, Chit, Ananda, which is called as Brahman. So is this portion, I'm sure it's clear. Then he says that your analysis should not stop with analyzing your body, mind, and senses. You should also analyze the totality, which is the world. When you analyze the world, see, like we claim this body as me, there is an Ishwara, God, who claims the whole world belongs to him. This is how Upanishads, they tell us about the nature of the world. Now, like we have the Upadhi, Ishwara also has a Upadhi. Upadhi means it is a covering. Ishwara's Upadhi is called as Maya Shakti. It's a power. Our ignorance is also a power. It covers, it has a covering, it has the covering nature. Similarly, Ishwara also has the Maya Shakti. But the difference between Jiva and Ishwara is Ishwara knows that he is Nirguna Brahman. He is without the world, he exists. Whereas a Jiva doesn't have that knowledge. So what we have to drop is, we have to drop the Maya Shakti portion of Ishwara, and we have to drop the ignorance portion of the jiva. These two are dropped by a method which is called as bhaga tyaga lakshana. I have explained this in the last session. So when you drop this, what happens is you come to something which is not seen by the sense organs, but which exists. That is what is called as our real nature. Whatever your mind can fathom today with the help of this scriptural knowledge, whatever it can understand, let it understand, and that nameless aspect about our existence, that is defined as our real nature. For example, in sleep state, I don't have any knowledge about the world, about myself, but I exist. Don't forget that I exist in sleep. That existence is called as pure existence. So when I have this knowledge that I can exist by myself as my real nature, that is called as moksha. That is called as mukti, freedom, only through knowledge of the scriptures. The scriptures are the only source which guide me in this journey. And I have to hold on the scriptures. You see, I cannot drop the scriptures. Okay, so that is the meaning of this entire verse. How I can reach the ultimate goal and say I am Sachidananda principle. If you look at the entire thought process of Vidyaranya, what he is saying is, how did he develop this chapter? That is what I have mentioned here in the chart below, thought process of Vidyaranya. The thought process is, first he introduces us our real nature. He says, he gave a definition of our real nature as Sachidananda. Then he talked about creation. What is this creation? What is the world which I see before me? The world which is created, which is projected, is only made up of 5 elements. That's all. And these 5 elements in different formats are appearing as the 5 koshas. Annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, anandamaya kosha. That was the second stage. Then he brought in the concept of Mahavakya, where he says, from your structure, you drop the 5 koshas and see who you are. Drop the 3 avasthas, waking, dream, and sleep, and see who you are. Drop the 3 bodies, gross, subtle, and causal body, and see who you are. That is the whole 48 verses we have seen so far. And the last portion is a Purva Pakshi. I will deal with it after we do this verse. These are just revisional, these are only revision slides. You can go through them and you can understand yourself. I won't spend much time, but I'll just tell you what is the meaning of aparoksha and pratyaksha. Pratyaksha means whatever is the knowledge which is happening now with the help of senses. That is what is in technical language of Sanskrit, it is called as pratyaksha. For example, I see a form, I hear the music. These are all pratyaksha. It's called as pratyaksha. It is directly seen and known. What is it? What is aparoksha jnanam? Aparoksha jnanam means knowledge which is existing now, like the pratyaksham, but it is not known by the senses or mind. I am existence, I am existing, I am conscious. That is aparoksha jnana. I am hearing good music. That is pratyaksham. So when you stop with I exist and I am conscious, that is what is called as aparoksha jnana. It is not a paroksha jnana. It is not that what will exist in the future. Something is there in the future. No. So when we talk about the self, it is aparoksha jnana. It is self-knowledge. Any self-knowledge is aparoksham. Aparoksham means it is known without any instrument. For example, I keep saying that what you are existing in sleep is your real knowledge about yourself. Is it pratyaksham or aparoksham? It is aparoksham. Because you're not using senses, the mind in the sleep state. And you're removing the ignorance about yourself. That is why it is called as aparoksha. Aparoksha means direct knowledge about yourself. So Vedas are the only source which describe to me that I can exist without the body and mind. You have to accept that. Without this acceptance, you cannot go forward in your spiritual journey. Like a lamp which reveals everything, the Veda describes to us our intrinsic nature as existence and consciousness. And it says that is the ultimate who you are. In Brahma Sutra, there is a very, very beautiful sutra, the third sutra, Shastra Yonitva. There are some students here, some people who have heard me describe this Brahma Sutra. I have taken Brahma Sutra, the first chapter, a few years back. There are some of you, you may remember this. This is a very important sutra. Among the 555 sutras, this is the first 4 sutras of Brahma Sutra are very important. What does this say in this sutra? It says that the shastra is the only means of knowledge to know who you are. So when the shastra says you are that supreme consciousness, you remove the ignorance portion, understand that you exist without the body and mind. That is what is ignorance. What is ignorance? All of us think that we are the body and mind, and we have no existence without the body and mind. What does the shastra say? You are not the body, you are not the mind. Who are you? You are consciousness. Is consciousness born? No. It is always there. It is beginningless, it is endless. So that is how we understand Mahavakya. Okay, there are some more notes here. If you read it, you'll be able to understand them. I'm not getting into all the details here. It's just an expansion of whatever I have discussed so far. And in the 48th verse, once the Maya and avidya is dropped by you intellectually, you cannot physically drop the world. The world consists of Panchabhutas. Physically, they will exist. Even after the knowledge that I am Sachidananda principle, this world will exist. Why the world will exist? Because there is prarabdha karma, which is attached to this body. At any time you are experiencing your body and mind means assume that this is a part of Ishwara's Vyavaharika world. I am not a part of this Vyavaharika world. I am Paramarthika Satya. These two categories you should understand very clearly. I have gone through this in my previous sessions. But here, once you come to the end, you should understand that my real nature, if I hold on to it, it is akhandam. Akhandam means it is one without any differentiation. There is no differentiation of Sat and Chit and Ananda in my real nature. They are all one. And that oneness is called as Param Brahma. So with this 48th verse, the Mahabhakya portion, which started in the 43rd verse, it gets concluded in this verse. Okay? The final teaching of the first chapter is over with this 48th verse. Vidyaranya brings in a Purva Pakshi. A Purva Pakshi means an opponent, and then discusses the next leg of our chapter from 49th verse till the 65th verse. It is a new section. Even if you don't go through this section, it doesn't matter. The teaching is completed up to 48. The verse number 1 to 48 is the teaching, which I have summarized. In 48 verses, Sachidananda was described first, Panchakoshas were dropped, and then you own up Sachidananda as your real nature by dropping the body mind as my real self, and holding on to the consciousness existence principle. That is the overall broad view. Now, Purva Pakshi, what is the meaning of, I'm getting into a new section from now. I will give you a little bit of knowledge about the overall aspect of what we are discussing. Then it will be easy for you to understand where we are. Okay, the teaching is over with the 48th verse. Here, there is a opponent which is brought about by the author himself. And that opponent is called as Purva Pakshi. Generally, there are three types of Purva Pakshis. Purva Pakshi means an opponent. What are the three types? One is called as Vada, which is called as Samvada, like in Bhagavad Gita. Every chapter says it is Samvada. What is Samvada? It is a dialogue between the Guru and the Sishya. Both of them, they want to reach the truth. The goal of both of them, what is the goal of Vada? In the first category of the type of opponents, suppose you don't know, you are ignorant, you go to a teacher. That is what is called as Samvada, or the first type. The second type is called as jalpa. I will explain to you what is jalpa. I'm just giving you the names here. Jalpa and vitanda. Jalpa means a person who has a position, own position, and he wants to hold on to his position as the right position. So in jalpa, the opponent says, I am right and you are wrong. And I will prove you're wrong. So all the discussion is going on to prove that the opposition is wrong and I am right. What is the third category of vitanda? Vitanda means the objectionist doesn't have any view about the truth. He only says, you are wrong, you are wrong, you are wrong. And then when the opponent says, okay, if I am wrong, what is the right thing? He says, I also don't know. But his view is what? Only to say you are wrong. In our general life also, whenever somebody is arguing with you, whether in the office, whether at home, whether in the society outside, we all face arguments to our viewpoints. If you know these three methodologies, you will be able to win any argument. Because you know that how the opposition is thinking. If he's thinking only in the as a vitanda, you can say that, okay, tell me right in the beginning itself, okay, this is wrong, okay, fine. What is your method? He says, no, I also don't know. Then he says, there's no use talking. In the second method, that is the third method. The second method, what? He will keep saying that I am wrong, and he will keep on saying, he will not listen to you. He will only say, I am right, you are wrong. I am right, you are wrong. This happens very often. This is the main method by which people argue. And what is the best method? The best method is you bring that opponent to a discussion table and tell him, let us now agree to see objectively the truth. At the end of our discussion, if we all both agree that the truth is like this, then I also can agree. I will compromise. If the truth is against your opinion, at the end of our discussion, which is a samvada, which is the Bhagavad Gita style, Arjuna kept on asking questions after questions. How is this possible? How is that possible? Lord Krishna kept on giving him answers after answers. Okay, so this is just an introduction to the three types of people. Vada is you come to the truth with discussion. Jalpa means you're wrong, I am right. Vitanda means you're always wrong and I don't have any viewpoint about the truth. Okay, there are some examples which I have given here. I will not go into that. And now I will get into the 49th verse. There are 4 verses starting from 49 to 52. 49, 50, 51, 52. These 4 verses are logic oriented. Tarka. Tarka is a science by itself. There are certain rules to be understood in Tarka logic, and unless you know all the rules of Tarka, you cannot appreciate these 4 verses. Vidyaranya is only giving this opponent, if suppose you don't understand these 4 verses or the balanced verses of the first chapter, it doesn't matter because teaching is over. What I plan to do, now these are the 4 verses which are the most difficult verses in the whole Panchadasi text of 15 chapters, 1,500 verses. Vidyaranya has written 1,500 verses. How many verses are there in Bhagavad Gita? 701 verses. How many are there in Brahma Sutra? 555. How much has Vidyaranya written? 1,500. Now, amongst the 1,500, some of the teachers, they say that these 4 verses of the first chapter are extremely difficult to understand because it has got logic behind it. There's some logical thinking which is required, and you must know the Tarka Shastra. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the word by word, just a verse meaning, and touch upon some aspects of my slides, but 90% of my slides of this 4 verses I am not going to explain, because you will not be able to understand the full gist of the whole thing. But I'll give you some idea, okay, so that you have a, a vague idea of what these 4 verses are. And let us start from the 49th verse. We'll chant all these 4 verses and let's see the meaning.
सविकल्पस्य लक्ष्यत्वे सविकल्पस्य लक्ष्यत्वे लक्ष्यस्य स्यादवस्तुताः लक्ष्यस्य स्यादवस्तुताः निर्विकल्पस्य लक्ष्यत्वम् निर्विकल्पस्य लक्ष्यत्वं न दृष्टं न च संभवी न दृष्टं न च संभवी.
First of all, you should understand what is these 4 verses about. These 4 verses are about that reality which is called as Brahman, which is called as Sachidananda. Is that reality with attributes or is it without attributes? That is the debate. That reality which you say is Sachidananda, is it with attributes or is it without attributes? What is the ultimate? Is it nirgunam or is it sagunam? And the whole discussion is based on is for this only, to prove whether that pure consciousness is with attribute or without attribute. I'll just go through this first portion. What does it say? Here it is the objection being defined. That Brahman is with attributes, then it becomes unreal. If what the Purva Pakshi opponent is saying is, anything with attributes means it is unreal. For example, the whole world, according to Veda, it says is full of attributes. And according to Veda, it says anything with attribute is unreal. Unreal means what? It is mithya. That is the first part of the Purva Pakshi. Then the second part of the Purva Pakshi is anything which is without attributes cannot be seen and you cannot conceive it in your mind. So what the Purva Pakshi wants to prove is this Brahman, what you're talking about, doesn't exist. This is the way there is an opponent who thinks that this, neither way can you say. If you say there is no nirgunam, he says, how can you prove this? How can you prove nirguna Brahman? And then suppose you say Brahman or that is with attributes, then it will become unreal. It will become mithya. Anything with attribute, according to, because attribute means it is anitya. Any attribute. Yellow flower, is it nithyam? No, because the flower itself is anitya. Okay, so that is how that is how this verse is talking about. Then there is description about whether words can describe the reality, because then we have seen this words the reality, and whether it is savikalpam or nirvikalpam, and what is the definition of all these lakshyam, which is savikalpam, lakshyam, which is nirvikalpam, all these are the details which are given in the Tarka Shastra. In the past, we have seen that words can only describe what is jati, guna, kriya, and sambandha. Okay, they cannot describe anything which is beyond this. Kathopanishad also says it is ashabdam, asparsham. It is without touch, without sound, without form, without decay, without taste. That means the five sense organs cannot know Brahman. But the Veda says there exists something. Purva Pakshi is saying, prove to me how they can exist. That is their discussion which is going on. Okay, next verse, 50th verse.
विकल्पो निर्विकल्पस्य विकल्पो निर्विकल्पस्य सविकल्पस्य वा भवेत् सविकल्पस्य वा भवेत् आद्ये व्याहतिरन्यत्र आद्ये व्याहतिरन्यत्रान् अवस्थात्माश्रयादयः अवस्थात्माश्रयादयः.
Here what happens? So in the first verse, 49th verse, it was a Purva Pakshi verse. This one is a Siddhantin's verse. That means now the author is trying to understand, trying to debate with the opponent. Whatever his objection was, he is trying to now give an answer. The answer is not an answer, but answer is in a question form. See, this is another method of arguing with a person. You try to find out if there is any logical deficiency in that opponent. See, that opponent was a tarka specialist. Logically, he could think very well. Here, the author is saying, asking a question. Now he says, let us now talk about attributes. Property. According to your method, according to your own method of logical, this is basically the Nyaya Shastra. You know, the opponent is a Nyaya philosopher. So he is asking him, on what does the attribute rest on? You see, the Purva Pakshi is talking about attributes. Now, the Siddhantin is asking a counter question and is asking, tell me first of all, is the locus of the property, the locus, the substratum, is it savikalpam or nirvikalpam? Savikalpa means you can think about it with your mind. It is kalpa, vikalpa. Nirvikalpa means you can't even think about the locus. This is how a counter question is put. This counter question has got no answer. Because the moment you say that there is a locus, means you're talking about regression. Something is a locus of another product. Then for that product, there has to be another locus. So you keep on saying, what is the locus, the first locus? What is the second locus? And if you talk about this locus, if property rests on something, then the Siddhantin says there are four fallacies in your argument. Suppose you say that there is a locus for a property, there are four doshas, deficiencies. This is getting into the heart of tarka. See how tarka is so complicated. But there are certain books available. Tarka has their own sutras. They have their own shastra. There are four fallacies if the property rests on something. Atma Ashraya Dosha, Anonya Ashraya Dosha, Chakrakad Ashraya Dosha, Anavastha Dosha. This is, anyway, I'm not going to discuss this. I'm just giving you how it develops. Okay? This is how they go deeper into this aspect of discussing the fallacy of Tarka Shastra. If you assume that every attribute has got a locus. Here, these are the slides which explain to you what each of those four doshas, which I gave you the names, right? Atmashraya, Anonyashraya, Chakrakara dosha, Anavastha dosha. And in each of this, you have to ask the question, is the property resting on Savikalpa or Nirvikalpa? Okay. Vikalpa means a thought is also called as Vikalpa. Doubt is also called as Vikalpa. Attribute is also called as Vikalpa. Okay, here we are taking the attribute which is called as Vikalpa. That is the discussion which it is going on. For example, suppose you say, who created the world? You say God. But who created God? When you say God created himself, it is called as Atma Ashraya Dosha. So God 2 created God 1, God 3 created God 1, God 4 created God 1, who's created, so this creation theory has got a problem. This is how the Vedanta tries to find out and debate the Tarka Shastra people. Mahavakya says, Vedanta says what? God is self-evident, is ever-present and uncreated. So never say God, who created God is a wrong question. God is always there. He is never created is the answer. Okay, so this is just one portion of the discussion. In Vedanta, when we study Mahavakyam, we always say that I am that reality, claiming that I am that reality, I am not born as consciousness and I continue to exist forever. That is why knowing this Mahavakyam thoroughly, clearly, I can claim moksha. What is the meaning of moksha? How does it really happen? The Mahavakya says you are without the world. What do you mean by without the world? Well, it means very simple. Whenever my sense organs are not able to function, but I exist, that is what is called as the reality. Very easy. I tell you, Vedanta is extremely easy if you know how to think properly. So you remove the condition of the world, which is coming only when the mind is active. When the mind is not active, as in the sleep state, this condition goes away of the world. That is how you should analyze, because this is the methodology followed by Shankaracharya, which all the authors they follow. All the Vedantic authors, they follow this. Okay. Okay, this Guna, Kriya, Sambandha and all we have discussed before. Okay, next, let's go to the 51st verse.
Idam guna kriya jate. Idam guna kriya jate. Dravya sambandha vastushu. Dravya sambandha vastushu. समं तेन स्वरूपस्य समं तेन स्वरूपस्य सर्वमेतदितिष्यताम् सर्वमेतदितिष्यताम्.
This is an important verse to understand this logical question. How does the Vedanta answer? See, that is what I said. If you have the answer, then you can do samvada. If you don't have the answer, you are the third type, vitanda. So in this case, we are not vitandas. We are not even, the opponent is a jalpa. Now you understand the three words, jalpa, vitanda, and vada. Now we are here discussing how we see this entire problem of attribute. See, what author says is that you should accept adhisthana and adhyasa. That is a relationship between Brahman and the world. So, if you accept that there is an adhisthana, like the waker and the dreamer. What is the waker? Waker is the adhisthana. Dreamer is the superimposition. On what? On the waker. So similarly, all the attributes which you are discussing, which you say, they all belong to the superimposed. They do not belong to the nirguna Brahma. For example, all the attributes of the dreamer belong to whom? Does it belong to the waker? No, it belongs to the dream. Similarly, all the attributes of the waker belongs to only the waker's avastha, the jagrata avastha, that's all. In the paramarthika truth, these attributes do not exist. So what is the relationship between me, the pure consciousness, and the world, and this body-mind complex? What is the relationship? This is a very, very important point when you're trying to understand Vedanta. It is very easy when you see the truth, when you understand it between waker and dreamer. Very easy. The same way you have to understand that higher reality, Atma or Brahman, is I drop all the attributes which I am experiencing, and then I say, Tat Tvam Asi, Aham Brahma Asmi. Then it becomes very clear. Okay, so when you are saying that the attributes, then the problem of this vikalpa doesn't come in, because vikalpa is a part of the world. It is a part of the seen world. A guna can reside in no guna or with guna. But what we say is it always exists. It resides in the locus of the guna, and this is where the opponent was asked the question, what is the locus? The locus is a part of the lower nature. That is what I was trying to explain to you by waking, dream, and sleep. So the reality cannot be explained as a waker or a dreamer or a sleeper. But who are these three? They are the superimposed on consciousness. The entire anatma is a superimposition on this pure consciousness. That is what you should understand. And when we say that this is superimposition, any superimposition is mithya. Mithya means it appears, but it is not true. Exactly like ropes made or dream. Is dream true? No. It is mithya. Is the waking true? No. It is experienceable, but it is not a fact. What is the fact? Brahman, the pure Sat Chit Ananda, is the ultimate fact. How do I accept this? Like, for example, is the earth stationary? No. Earth is rotating violently in its own axis and around the sun. But do we experience that? I experience earth is stationary. But what is the fact? It is rotating around the sun. Sky is blue. Is the sky blue? No, it only appears blue. But fact is, sky is colorless. So similarly, I am pure consciousness is a fact. I am experiencing body mind is an experience. It is not a fact. That is how we understand Vedanta. Experience does not prove the reality. Reality stands because of a pramanam. In our case, it is the shastra pramanam. Okay. So what the author is trying to say is, if the dreamer wants to find out the truth, in the dream, he can never find it because it is adhyasa. It is a superimposition. It is an error. Error in what? In our thinking, in the intellect. That the dream, if I try to find answers in the dream, it's wrong. Similarly, in the waking, I cannot find answers of the higher nature. I have to use the Shastra Pramanam, accept it, and then you see all your doubts are clear. Okay? This is the last verse of this whole discussion. I will just go through this and I'll stop. It might take a little bit 5 minutes extra, but doesn't matter.
विकल्पतदभावाभ्याम् असंस्पृष्टात्मवस्तुने विकल्पितत्वलक्ष्यस्त्व सम्बन्धाद्यास्तु कल्पिताः
Here, this is the final verse of the logical debate. What it says is, the self is untouched by the doubts. Whether the doubt exists, whether the doubt doesn't exist. See, doubt is a vikalpa of the mind. It is a thought modification happening in your intellect. But the fact cannot be changed by the thoughts in your mind. The fact is, I am the pure consciousness, and it can never be touched by the mind. Very important point. Waker is never touched by the dream experiences. Similarly, consciousness is never touched by the waking experiences. See how deep is our analysis. You see, look at how beautiful is Vidyaranya's approach to making us understand the truth. See, with these 4 verses, he gives us a deeper meaning of this pure consciousness. What he is saying is, it is superimposition. He is explaining the methodology of understanding superimposition with 4 verses, 49, 50, 51, 52. If you can understand this, then you have understood these 4 verses. Okay? The rest is, you can go through it, but the basic thing is that you understand that 4 verses are given to explain what is that which is dropped. What is dropped is only superimposition. What is held back is the ultimate truth. Okay? Brahman is the substratum of the Jagat, Jiva, and Ishwara. Very important. Ishwara is also included in the Mithya universe. And what is the Adhishtanam? Brahman. So at the realization level, at the realization of the self, Jiva Jagat Ishwara is dropped because it is a superimposition, it is an adhyasa on pure consciousness. And adhyasa can never touch the substratum. Rope snake can never touch the rope. When you are looking at the rope as a rope snake, the rope was rope. When you dropped the rope snake, rope remained the rope. At no time the rope was affected by the rope snake experience. Rope is a fact. Rope snake is the superimposition. All the waking experience is superimposition. What is the fact? Brahman. What is the fact? Sachidananda. If you understand this, in the end of this chapter 1, you have got a very, very sharp mind, and you can analyze any type of doubt in future if you know this truth. So verse number 49, 50, 51, and 52, they are very 4 advanced verses. They are the most difficult verses out of 1500 verses. 50 is a logical nuclear bomb which gives you how Purva Pakshi is thinking about the attributes, about the whole waker, dreamer, and sleeper. 52nd verse, which we just now completed, is the answer to that Purva Pakshi. Okay, so these are some more notes. Next week, I'm going to start the 53rd verse. And from this verse onwards, there is going to be a little bit about meditation, samadhi, and all. It's a new topic. I will 53rd onwards. I will explain to you next week how the flow is from 53 to 65. I'll explain to you verse by verse how the flow is there, and you will see I prepared a chart. I didn't share it with you today, but next week I'm going to share the chart with you. So with this, I complete today. Next week we'll start with 53rd verse. Okay, I complete Panchadasi chapter 1 now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudacchade Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevasvasishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There are no questions at the chat box. If you have a question, you can Unmute yourself and you can ask now. Do you have any questions or do you have any reflections on what we discussed today?
Shekharji, Venkatesh here.
Yeah, Venkatesh, yeah.
This verses 49 to 52 is like a mini Brahma Sutra.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, you're right. You have gone through Brahma Sutra, so you can understand this very easily.
Yeah, I mean, the way he has put it is really very amazing because Vidyanand Swami wants to remove all logical things in the mind.
Correct.
He wants to just emphasize on that adhisthana.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Because as a jiva, most of the time we are with the finite attitudes only.
That's
Everything
correct.
we look into the objective world and all, we look for the locus. And some of those examples what he has given, which is like in a sphere, if we are going to find out what is the starting point, we will be never able to find out.
Yes.
So it does not make any sense also, trying to waste time.
Correct. Don't waste time on trying to find logical answers. And they are only trying to go round and round your own intellect, you know.
So the logical analysis he wants to just remove. Like in a horizon, if we just see where the earth and sky meeting, and if we try to go, we will never able to see that.
That's right.
So,
yes.
So that sutra, Brahma Sutras, that one what you have seen, the shastra pramana, he wants to emphasize the
correct. That's right.
highest.
Shastra yonitvad.
Yeah, shastra yonitva. I mean, the first four, like what we have discussed,
Yes.
now the most important of the whole Brahma Sutra. But that small mini way he has emphasized rightly after Mahakavya.
Yes.
So, I mean, to me, this chapter looks like a great combination of so many aspects. Very, very, very important chapter.
That's correct.
Yeah. So it's a very amazing the way the whole thing was explained.
No, it's amazing, really. Vidyaranya as an author is really, really amazing. How he's able to bring together, especially people who have gone through the Upanishads and, like, for example, you have gone through Brahma Sutra. See, so you can appreciate this whole chapter so beautifully.
Very beautifully he has put it.
Yes.
Very, very extraordinary.
Even if there are some people here who may not have done Brahma Sutra, who may not have done other Upanishads, but the very way the whole chapter is constructed and the way I have explained to you, if you're able to understand, that is a very, very big achievement. Even if you understand 10% of what you have got in this chapter. We have had so many sessions on this chapter. We have had so many sessions on Panchadasi. In different forms, he has come to the same truth.
Like, I mean, I just see like the traveling from jiva to the finite to infinite is not a easy thing actually, because
correct. That's right.
So that's why he has so much emphasized on this illusionary part. So all this superimposition and all, which is very, very important to remove those superimpositions. So that's the reason he has given the combination of everything, and ultimately he has put it in such a way where we will have that faith towards the Shastriya Pramana, which is ultimate everything and all.
That's correct. You see, the Maya aspect of I am the waker, I am the dreamer, I am the sleeper. The moment we say this, that is Maya.
Yeah.
And he has emphasized that saying this itself, you are into samsara, but drop it and then see who you are.
Yeah. And most of the scriptures we will just see the avidya part only, the ignorance and all. But he has very nicely taken that Maya and avidya, two different aspects actually. That's
correct. Yes.
Which is very, very, like he has taken both jiva's ultimate and Ishwara's ultimate also.
That's correct.
Jagat, Jiva,
you drop Jiva, Jagat, Ishwara, and then you ask the question, I am the Adhisthana. Yeah. There is nothing else beyond this.
The continuity is very amazing, actually. Very,
yes. You see, the way he has revealed the truth, you know, good, very good, Venkatesh. I'm happy you have been able to link up, you know, so much of the teaching which has happened so far. Very good. Thank you.
We must be thankful to you.
It's an amazing thing, you know. It's amazing how things can. See, so what happens in our spiritual journey is it is a slow progress.
Very slow, yeah.
Very slow progress. That's what Nita is saying now. Slowly, the mind is ready to accept that it is not the ultimate truth. You see, this is a very, very important point which Nita is saying. What is she saying? She's saying the mind itself is not true.
Exactly.
Mind is Maya. It is a very big discovery. Very, very big discovery in this in the spiritual path. Because then what will happen? You will not be carried away by your mind. See, the moment you accept that mind is Maya, the whole experience of the mind. What is the whole experience of mind? The whole waking state is experience of mind. The dream state is an experience of the mind. The sleep state is the experience of the mind. But this Maya, which is mithya, which means it is false, must have a substratum, like the rope snake. It must have some substratum called as the rope. For these three states, the substratum is Atma.
Yeah.
That is how you should understand. My mind is mithya. Okay, accepted. But what is the
Real. Yeah.
If mind is Maya, what is the reality?
Exactly.
The reality is called as Atma. That Atma is ever free. It is ever existing. In all the three periods of time, it is there. In the past, it was there. In the present, it is there. It is there in the future also. That is why at any point of time in my life, I always feel I am there. Mind may not be there. In sleep, for example, mind is not there.
Yeah.
But I am there. What is that I is if I am able to know that, then I have destroyed my ignorance. This ignorance is called as self-ignorance. Okay? And the moment this becomes I'm very fascinated by what you are saying today. Slowly the mind is ready to accept. That is how every seeker will realize it. What you are saying is 100% true. Every seeker will realize that his or her mind is not the ultimate truth. It is there, it is an incidental truth. It is vyavaharikam, it is transactional. For transactions, you will require a mind. Whenever you see the body, it will transact with the world. For that, the mind is given to you. But that is not the adhisthana. It is not the substratum of who I am. Okay, good. I'm very happy, Nita. You have picked up so much in the this particular what you have said is really, it shows that you have picked up a lot of the spiritual knowledge. Good, very good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else has any other question? So for those who are coming new and attending, please continue listening. You will understand slowly the ultimate realization of Atma. Even if you don't understand much today, but keep attending, because that is the way you will remain in the journey. Don't say that I didn't understand today's talk, therefore I will not, keep attending. Let the words of the scriptures go through your ears. It is the magic of the Shruti, which will transform you, but you need patience. You have to keep listening. Keep listening. Let your mind listen to the truth again and again, again and again. Okay?
Yeah.
Good, very good. If there are no other questions, we'll stop here. We'll continue next week. And we'll get into the new section of this chapter 1. Okay, thank you. And
Thank you. Namaste.
Yeah,
Hari Om.
namaste.
Namaste. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Have a great day
Hari
ahead.
Om.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Hari
you.
Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.